All right. Something pretty key. Something pretty key happened today. I was at this museum gathering today. This gathering at the museum. And guess who I ran into that I hadn't seen in a long time? This is no accident. This is no accident. The same day I find the God cannot lie scripture in the Bible finally, is I run into the person that told the truth for God to me. That the promises for God uh, through this person. You know what I mean? You know, that's where the promises came from, is this person that told the truth for God and it happened. You know what I mean? So I've been going off the promises that came from this person. Because I'm like, God was speaking through this person. Because what she said would happen, it happened. And it was big. It was big. It was a big promise for God of what would happen. So there were other promises from the same person, get what I mean, that have not happened. Like wife and kids, basically. You know. So I found that interesting. So that's why this scripture is important. That's why. Because these other promises have not happened and are not even close to happening. So God knows that will keep me going. It will. That's why that scripture is so important. That's why it's so important, that scripture. Because if he could lie and back out like a man would back out, I would not continue forward. I wouldn't. God knows it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't keep going in any way. I would, check off the planet. For real. That's why that scripture is a big deal. All the scriptures that say God cannot lie. That's why it's a big deal. It's life or death to me. It is. It's life or death. For real. For real. So running into this person was no accident. Like I said, the one time God told me the truth was through this person. Was the one time God told the truth. No joke. No joke. And that's what I have to go off of, was what this person said. And the other promises that this same person said. Wife and kids, basically, was the other promises. That I would have a wife and kids. No joke. Even though I don't care about that right now. I don't. I'd rather God twinkle me off the planet. I'd rather him do that. At this point, I would. But a part of me doesn't understand why God made these promises. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I must have done something for God before I was born. Something big. Something big. I don't know what the hell I did for God before I was born. It had to be big for him to make these promises. These big promises, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was interesting. No accident. No accident. I find the scripture about God cannot lie, finally. It's a big one. It's the biggest scripture of all time. Those scriptures about God cannot lie are the biggest scriptures of all time to me, for many reasons. For many reasons. God cannot lie. He has to tell the truth. He has to. Therefore, I have to keep going. I do. Because God cannot lie. See how I'm putting it together? See how I'm putting it together? God cannot lie. These promises haven't happened, but he says they will happen, but he cannot lie. I have to keep going. I have to keep going based on that. You know what I mean? For sure. But yeah, that's the one time that a promise came from God that I knew was coming from God because it happened. It happened. That's why I knew it was from God. Because it was a promise that no one could make happen except God himself. And he did make it happen. So I'm going off what that same person said for God to me. That's the same promises. And God knows I'm trying to piece this together. You know what I mean? Like logically, God cannot lie. Therefore, these promises will happen eventually because he cannot lie. So I have to keep going. See what I mean? See how I do the math? The logic thing, you know what I mean? Logically, I have to keep going. If God cannot lie, logically. For sure. For sure. No joking around. But he keeps having me run into the same person. The same female. Not the one that told the truth for God, but this other one. I keep running into the same one, you know, from the Baptist church, this same female. So I don't know if God's trying to match me up with this same female. I don't know. That's what I wondered today as well, because I ran into her again. So I'm like, is God trying to set me up with this other one? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what God's playing at. How he's setting things up, I don't know. What he's playing at, I don't know. But yeah, God can see the future. He can. He can see the future. He predicted a big promise. The only way he could have predicted that promise, God, is if he could see the future. Yep. So therefore, he can see my future from here, of me getting married and having kids. He can see my future from here. See why that scripture's so important? See why it's so important? Major important. Major important. Like, no joke. Like, no joke. Because that's it, like, so many times on this path, I'm like, I don't want to keep going. I don't want to keep going. Just, but then I'm like, God cannot lie. Oh, oh, God cannot lie. Oh, that changes the game. That changes the game. Oh, that changes everything. He has to back up certain things. I'm like, oh man, I have to keep going now. But anyways, yeah, no accident. I ran into that person. All the promises from God came from this person. All of them. First promise happened. That's why I'm going off the God cannot lie thing. To keep going. I'm like, those things happened. I mean, the one thing happened, that one promise happened. Therefore, these other promises will happen because the first one happened from God. The first one happened from God. So God cannot lie was true with that first promise. No joke. No joke. So the next promises that came from her that haven't happened will eventually happen because God cannot lie. That's why. That's why. And that's why the scriptures are so critical. They are so critical, those scriptures, about God cannot lie. And I'm going to read the other ones about God cannot lie, besides the one I found. You know what I mean? Because if there's more scriptures about God cannot lie, then there's more backing, in my opinion. There's more backing if there's more references to God cannot lie. No joke. There's more backing. More backing, the better on this. The more backing, the better on this aspect of God. The more backing, the better. Like I said, this part of God is the most critical thing ever to me. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. This aspect of God cannot lie. It means he's the total opposite of every man on the planet. He's the total opposite of every man on the planet right now. That one statement of God cannot lie, he's different from every man walking around on the planet. That's why it's critical. That's why it's critical. That's why you say, oh, I believe God over men around me. I believe God over men. That's why you do it. Because God cannot lie. That's why you pick God over men. That's why, right there. Yep. Yep, that's why. That's exactly why. You put God first above men. That statement right there. Every man on the ground lies. Every man does. Every man lies on the ground. But God is the opposite of that. That's why it's critical. It's big. It's so big, it's not even funny to me. It gives hope like you would not believe. That statement gives hope like nothing else. It does. It gives hope where there's no hope for me. It gives hope where there's no hope. That statement of God cannot lie gives me hope where there was no hope, is no hope. That statement alone. In a world full of lies, that statement alone gives me hope. It does. Some hope of it, some kind of a real hope. That statement. It's that big. It's that big. I mean, you could waste away serving men your whole life, but they'll lie to you, they'll betray you, they'll stab you in the back. God's the opposite of that. That's why it's big. That's why it's big. No joke. That's why it's big. It's the biggest hardcore statement ever to me. It is. Because God knows I get confused and discombobulated by this world. But then I remember God cannot lie. So I keep going. Get what I mean? It changes things. It does. It changes a lot of things. For sure. Like I said, it gives hope where there is no hope. It gives hope where there is no hope. Formerly no hope. That statement. Especially to a guy like me. Especially to a guy like me. Especially. Who's been lied to. Betrayed most of his life. That's why it's a huge statement. Of hope. For sure. That's all I'll say for this video. I accidentally ran into a kid today. I knocked him down. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I'm sorry, kid. I didn't mean to knock you down. Are you alright? And another incident with a kid coming up to me. He's like wanting to shake my hand, so I shook his hand and he gave me a fist bump. I gave him a fist bump. A little kid's like, what up, man? You know? So I just, you know. Did the handshake and fist bump thing to a kid, you know what I mean? That's what I did. You know, if I'm going to be the leader of God's army down here, I gotta represent. You know, I can't be like some guy that, you know, runs over kids like I just did on accident. Yeah. I can't be that person I thought Jesus was to me when I was a kid, just someone that walked right by, you know. I can't be that. You know what I mean? I can't be that. In this world and this life, I can't be that, you know. Even though I did run into a kid on accident, knocked him down. Not a good start for me. Not a good start for me to be a role model for the kids. Not a good start for me. But I did do the handshake and fist bump to the kid. The other kid. Yeah. So, anyway. Enough about that. If anybody knows kids need a real hero, it's me. It's me. Yeah. I needed a real hero growing up, you know. I did. So I'm going to do my damn best to be a hero. Yeah, I mean, Captain America or something. So that's all I'll say for this video. I gotta go.